If you'd like to make, come to the podium, please. State your name, your questions, and your concerns. Let me get it.
Jim Atkins, Wycomico County. I want to talk about the audit that was just discussed.
Jim, can you pull your microphone? The older fellow on the end don't hear it.
You having a hard time?
Yeah.
I can talk louder, believe me. I want to mainly talk about the audit for the fuel, the DEP, and the diesel. I guess, what do we, President Cannon, Councilman Holloway, 16, 18 years from the fuel debacle at the landfill. And we were supposed to put all these audits in because we had this problem. This is the executive's management view response to the audit. It should be noted the audit was conducted without the internal auditor consulting the Department of Finance. This materially impacts the financial statements of the county. The failure of the internal auditor to bring in the Department of Finance impairs the ability to give a full and complete view to the auditor and the council. The primary objective of an internal auditor is to encourage an entity to make changes to address identified weaknesses. Lack of communication with the finance department was one of the executive's main problems with this audit. The people who have looked at the brief book and the council members and our auditor, Ms. Chantel, who has done an excellent job on this, there are 3 pages of emails of response that she had with the finance department. So how can a executive and the finance department say that they weren't consulted, weren't spoken to, and weren't involved in this? This young lady's got 3 pages of emails, dates and times that they were sent, and whether or not she got responses. Take this back to Safari at the quarry. She couldn't do an audit because they wouldn't give her information. She can't do an audit now because they won't give her information. Why do we not have controls in place? An audit is to be performed to find out if you have a problem and fix that problem, not to send out a response that blames new hires, lack of communication, and all the other things that the executive wants to blame it on, other than the fact that this administration does not have controls over what's going on in this county. They don't have controls over the money being spent. And it's real simple. You put controls in place, the auditor goes in there and she does the audit, and she comes in here and tells you somebody's either stealing or everything's good. But we've got so much cloudiness in this administration with the auditor that this lady can't do her job. And you really need to back her up, because it's not going to get any better until somebody demands the fact that you have accurate information. You don't know right now whether fuel's being stolen from the landfill or not, again, because the controls are not in place that should have been put in place 16 or 18 years ago. Or they're not being followed because, according to the executive, we have new employees. You know, it gets old after a while. For the first year, the executive would come in here and say, well, I'm new at this. It's my first year. Well, it's your 4th year now. We ought to have controls in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
Good morning, almost afternoon. Mikkel Darlene, Wycomico County. I'm sure that most of you know that I am here today about the open work session you guys are going to have on Connolly Mill Park soon. I'm representing Save Connolly Mill Park. We have quite a few advocates in the room that are really, really excited to be here today. If anybody that is in favor of this land conversion that's going to be discussed can, stand up, put your hands up. Let's see everybody here. See this room? It's been a long and windy path. This place is really important to Wacomico County. Director Steve Miller, I can't say enough good things about everything you've done and about the work that you've put forth for this county. We are blessed to have him. And the plan that he has here for us that he's going to present today really has the opportunity to be transformative for Wacomico County. We have the potential. Today, we had a resolution. We talked about mental health awareness for children. I was a sexual assault, domestic violence advocate for years. Almost all of the work that we did was way more effective in green space. We had a presentation from our county health department, and we talked about the need for, good public health outcomes, mental health help. All of these things happen when we're outside, when we're in nature. We have several local organizations that do ecotherapy camps. We have eco-stewardship initiatives. We have people that care about our environment. We have people that care about our youth. And what's really unique about Connolly Mill is that's within 5 miles of the downtown urban zone. This allows equity of access to green space for people that don't have it. A lot of the people that need it the most can't drive 35 minutes to Pirates Wharf, which is amazing. That's another great county resource. But this here provides it to people who need it the most in a way that they can reach it. It also really speaks to being fiscally conservative with our money. Developing Connolly Mill will take the least amount of capital investment and at the same time will provide the most amount of positive economic driving. We don't need a lot of money. We don't need a lot of infrastructure, but we have bird watching groups. We have running groups. We have biking groups. We have so many different civic organizations that can make use of this amazing place and bring money into Wacomico County while also improving the physical and mental well-being and just bringing us together. This is possibly transformative for our entire generation. And, we have this power in our hands, and I really appreciate that we're here in this moment, and I appreciate James Wynn for holding the town hall. I appreciate Steve Miller for bringing this forth, and thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Tomko. I'm from Wacomico County. And just to quickly address the discussion that we just had, or witnessed, I guess, on gift cards, it's apparent that the council is striving for a higher level of integrity and accountability and to strictly avoid the appearance of misappropriation, whether there was any or not. As one who strives and has raised other human beings to live above reproach, I want to say thank you for that demonstration and the discussion that we just had. As a continuation of that discussion, I'm here to support the proposed land conversion for Connolly Mill. This decision represents something larger than just a parcel of land. It's about honoring gifts and our commitments, protecting our limited and treasured natural resources, and investing responsibly in the legacy of Wacomico County. My husband and I moved here 5 years ago specifically by choice for what Wacomico County offers. This rural, agricultural environment that's both developing and beautifully natural, all at the same time. And some of you may know me from being involved with the biorefinery project. I'm a neighbor to that project out on Hickory Mill. So supporting this conversion protects the original vision and promises that were made when Connolly Mill was gifted to us. We all know in today's culture how much public trust matters. When land is given with the understanding that it will serve the community as protected parkland, we should do everything possible to preserve that intent for future generations because we are a people with integrity. Second, the public has spoken clearly through a recent Wacomico Park survey, which showed an overwhelming citizen support for Connolly Mill. We've consistently identified the need for more accessible green space for outdoor recreation and environmental preservation. This proposal reflects the priorities of the community, and in addition, our Rec and Parks Commission also reached a consensus vote to support this conversion during their March meeting. Finally, I'd like to address the significance of our environmental stewardship of Connolly Mill. This land sits within the watershed of Wicomico River and plays a role in protecting our drinking water and our natural ecosystems. This is a significant issue as you all work to balance our growth and development with the preservation of our unique beauty and environmental health. When we preserve our open green space, it helps reduce runoff, it improves our water quality, it protects wildlife habitat, and it strengthens the resilience for future generations, which I'm raising here. Once environmentally sensitive land is lost, we know that it's likely impossible to regain and restore it. And so, many of us residents know that the park has the potential to become a defining public space for Salisbury and our county. And so I respectfully encourage you to support this conversion project. Thank you.
Good morning, Mike Goldberg, Wicomico. Open spaces and parklands are particularly important to a population such as we have in Wicomico County. Here, we are outdoorsmen. We are farmers, watermen, hunters, fishermen, hikers, bikers, boathers, and bird watchers, etc. The POS conversion to the Connolly Mill site in its entirety, including its unique water resources created by the existing sand pits, will create unparalleled outdoor recreational opportunities for the people of Wicomico County and Salisbury that will be available to everyone, not just to a limited few. Parklands such as that which we hope will be created at Connolly Mill will contribute to improving public health and the creation of a quality of life which will attract employers and new residents to help expand our local economy. Many people across the county have dedicated themselves to making Connolly Mill Park a reality, and to them we owe our thanks. It is my hope that a park at Connolly Mill can be brought to fruition. By doing so, this council, the executive, and the director of Parks and Recreation, among others, will be leaving behind a legacy of which they can be proud. The conversion has broad public support, and it is simply the right thing to do. It is therefore my hope that y'all can get this done. Thank you.
Hello, Lana Foley, county and city resident. For generations, places like Connolly Mill have quietly held the memory of our land. Long before roads and subdivisions, our land was a landscape of towering trees, cool shade, rich soil, and living forest. Today, so little of that remains. That is why protecting and cherishing spaces like Connolly Mill matter so deeply. Local author and forest advocate Joan Maloof reminds us that when we lose forests, we lose far more than scenery. We lose living systems we barely understand. She writes about stepping into one of the last remnants of old-growth forest and immediately noticing something that's forgotten, and that's the air itself. The sweet, rich, earthy air created through the relationship between trees, fungi, insects, soil, and water over generations. Scientists now recognize what many people already feel, that forests heal us. Time among mature trees lowers stress, improves health, and reconnects us to something older and steadier than ourselves. The Japanese even have a practice called forest bathing, which is backed by research for lowering stress, reducing blood pressure, and boosting immunity. Connolly Mill should move forward to becoming a cherished park and community space because once these mature landscapes are lost, they cannot simply be recreated in our lifetimes. A newly planted tree is valuable, but it cannot replace the ecological wisdom stored in older forests, older soils, and intact natural spaces. Beyond conservation, we should want a place beyond an open field playground. It is about giving children a place where they can smell the forest after the rain, hear birds instead of traffic, and walk beneath large trees and experience wonder close to home. We have so few opportunities left to protect places that still carry the spirit of the land before us. Connolly Mill can become not just preserved land, but beloved land, a place for community gathering, quiet reflection, education, and healing. We fight for farmland against solar panels. Why would we do anything different for this land, water, and ecosystem? I urge you to support the vision of Conley Mill as a cherished park and community space for the generations who deserve to inherit more than pavement and memory.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. My name is Monica Brooks, resident of Wacomico County and City of Salisbury, also president of Wacomico County NAACP. I came for a particular thing, but I did want to make a comment about the audit. That issue is something that was brought up a long time ago. It's still unresolved, but I want to say to the council, the auditor asked you to give her license to do certain things, and then you threw it back to her. I think it's the council that should instruct her to give her the assistance that she needs to be able to do her job more diligently, as it was addressed that her information that she's requested, that she has not received that support. So I think the council should back her up in the way that you're able to do, so that we can get some real answers, because we should not have this stuff hanging out for all this time. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. I wanted to bring up a matter regarding mental health. I'm glad we talked about mental health this morning. I did want to acknowledge that in addition to the ongoing mental health issues and crisis, the students that are seeing their friends and family and being taken by ICE, children that are missing this year, I think almost 190 students that are gone from the school this year. We just want to make sure that those students are actually in a safe place, that they have not been trafficked. We'd like to request for the, whether that's through the health department, to verify where those kids are, that they are safe, that the reasons for their leaving, whether their families were deported or whatever the case may be, but for a verification of the mental health of those, the verification of the location of those children, but also prioritizing the mental health that these kids are dealing with, seeing their friends and families being taken. Lastly, I want to, one of my first purpose in coming here, but so in order to address widespread complaints throughout the county from various employees that have dedicated many, many years of service to working for the county, there are severe salary compression. And what that means is that you have employees who've been working years and years and years and years for the county. New people are hired at higher rates than people who've been working here for many years, people who are working in supervisory positions. So I wanted to offer a remedy, something from the county, and I don't know if this is considered just policy that has to go through the executive, or if there's something that the council can do to create a policy for independent third-party salary and structure study. So what that does is that allows for someone on the outside, take away emotions, connections, cronyism, all of that sort of thing, to look at the best way to ensure that everyone is paid what they should be paid, and that people are not hooking each other up because of who they know and what that sort of thing, and that everyone gets a fair wage and what they should be getting, as opposed to somebody who has all of this knowledge getting the same pay as someone who gets hired that knows nothing. And that's what we're dealing with currently. I think you should investigate it.
Bruce Robson, Wycomico County. I support the process continuing on Connolly Mill. I don't have anything to add other than the eloquence we've already heard. I also wanted to thank both the administration and the council for support over the last few years regarding, I'm a part of a group called Wycomico Clean that volunteers working on litter in the roads, and the job description of the position in this budget is maybe not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. And we really appreciate that and hope that that remains in the budget. Yeah. Thank you all for your work. Much appreciated. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Joe Diggs, Wycomico County. I'm not going to repeat everything that was already said because Rhonda took my whole my whole little spiel I was going to say. But anyway, I'm here to ask your support for the conversion program, open space over to Conley Mill Park. It's a beautiful area there. It's perfect for everything that will be beneficial to the residents here. Health, well-being, social interaction. So I'd like to thank Mr. Steve Miller, Councilman Wynn. I know they've got us to this point. If anybody else was in support of this, if not, this is your time to support it. So please just do the conversion. I appreciate it.
Hi, Craig Stofko, Wicomico County, speaking in support of the Naylor Mill conversion. I had a really good short speech to promote my book that comes out this summer. It's called Wickakeek. It's about that guy and where he lived and what he did on that land. But I always go back to the county health rankings. Every time I do, all you guys fall asleep because no one ever looks at that stuff except people like Mr. McConaughey, who drives him crazy, I'm sure. But just listening to some of the health department report, and I used to run the health department in Somerset, this is just stuff that's only take a second. That I just popped up and looked at as to why we can't get qualified and enough people to come down here and work. Our cancer rate is not just higher, it's 25% higher. Causes what we breathe and what we drink. That land is right on top of the aquifer. We can't afford to keep making mistakes like that. Then 40% of the people in this county are obese. That's more than double the national average. 40% of the people in this county. So the recommendations are always access. Well, go online and look at access to activity in Salisbury, in Wicomico County. The first thing they'll mention is the Henry Parker Park, which is great if you're on a ball team and play. There's also a really nice forest next to it. The second thing on the list is Chuck E. Cheese. And you can't make this stuff up. I won't bore you with the rest of it, just to underscore, this land is so beautiful and special. I saw an albino deer, and I got a picture of it, so anyone who wants to call me on it. I saw an albino deer out there. Yeah, I'm still going out there. Haven't been arrested yet. It is paradise, and I know on both sides, people that are for this park and people that are against this park. Most of them have never taken the time to go out there. If you go out there, there's no sane person on the planet that could walk through that forest and say, we need this. This could be the thing in Wicomico County. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, actually, it's afternoon now. Robert Taylor, county resident. If you're going to do something further on Conley Mill, can we get a cost accounting for the safari and the quarry event for a couple years ago? If you'll remember, that was going to be a moneymaker, according to Giordano. It was her deal. I'd like to know how much money we made or lost, as the case may be. I didn't come to talk about that. I didn't come to talk about the audit on the local management board, but I will say this about it. You all noted a lot of concerns. If you want to address something to the state, the council should do it, not the auditor. That's not her task. You all need to write a letter, whoever it might be, the AG, the General Assembly committee chairs under that particular legislation, and get it out under your name. You could use her report. She, Mr. Benson, and Ms. Hurley could certainly draft a letter. You need to get it out soon. It's not September yet, but the days of your council are dwindling down to a precious few. You got about 6 months left. So if you're going to start doing some stuff, you got to get going if you're going to make a showing. So let's get this done. Let's get that letter out by July, no later than that. You'll have about 4 months left then. Okay. Shout out, hold the applause for PAC 14. They did your work sessions this past week. Fortunately, I had a small part in that. I won't get into the weeds. There's also going to be a budget recap session, as I understand it, this Friday. I think it's from 3 to 5. I believe PAC 14 will be covering that too. And there's a lot that needs to be done in that recap session. And I'm going to get into the weeds from this past week. First, fire and EMS service. It needs a lot more funding. Ms. Giordano won't appropriate the money, won't ask you to appropriate the money. I know under the charter you can't up things, but you can certainly speak to her about that seriously. That needs to be changed before you pass this budget. Another thing that needs to be done, this came out on the Verizon building, health department. It's incredible to me, I mean, frankly, I was shocked that the CIP does not include various projects, and that is one, that are planned for the 5-year CIP period. There's nothing in there for it. I'm talking about this year's CIP. And I believe from your discussion last week, right now, there's nothing in it for the current one, the upcoming one. This is wrong, and I think there are other planned projects too. You all need to get that straightened out before you pass a budget. And that this is the time to do it, not later. Let's not have the next council, which is going to be a majority of new members, wade into this cesspool that Giordano has created. Thank you.
Hi, Holly Campbell, Wycomico County. Just want to say everything everybody else said for Conley Mill. Appreciate all those comments. They were really great. Rhonda, loved your speech. I wanted to point out a couple of things that, from my perspective, I've heard a lot in the last year about our ratings improvement that the county's, had the benefit of, which I think is fantastic. I think it's well known that one of the main reasons we have achieved that is because our fund balance is significant and has a significant improvement over the years. I would like to point out that Conley Mill was a gift, was given to the county, and has probably provided the county with somewhere between like $10 and $20 million. I'm sorry, I'm hoarse. Probably $10 and $20 million of free money. So to me, that's a big fat deposit to our bank account. And our bank account just got us an improved credit rating, which also gets us better investments, better return on investments, cheaper money. We get to borrow at a lower rate. So I see Conley Mill for all these wonderful reasons. But if you want to get back to the money, people want to hear about money, there it is. There's a lot of benefit that has already been reaped from that donation. And I don't have the numbers to back up the 10 to 20. Somebody's got them. Weston Young studied that stuff early. Somebody's got them. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. To me, that was about somewhere between 14 and 28% of that fund balance that was on the audit record from 2024. That's how much I calculated probably came from there. Homeowners at Shadow Hills were asked back then during that donation period to get behind the project, to get behind the donation so that the county could benefit. I don't think they realized the benefit as much as they even did, but we were asked to do that. And in exchange, we were promised that the land would become a public park. And I want to get back to the wording on the land conversion. We have spoken tonight, I think other people have, that the water features, while they may be excluded currently because of the mining, there needs to be wording in there that protects that to be included going forward. And there is documentation, there are articles written. Here's a quote right here from Weston Young in 2018 that says, 22 years remaining at the current landfill, even with the dirt we have, it wouldn't be enough to close it in. Quote, and by creating deeper trenches in those ponds, activities for the community to enjoy could form. We would be creating water features for however the park manifests itself. We would have open water. Whether it's kayaking, canoeing, stand-up, paddleboarding, these could easily be stocked for fish. These were the conversations, that's a quote from Weston Young, those were the conversations that happened at Casey Taylor's dining room table in our neighborhood. And when we talk about the promise and you want to ask, like, where's the promise on paper? It's places like this that it's documented and in all the council minutes. So we would like to make sure that you include that somehow, that as the conversion goes forward in the park forums, that those water features get included later. I have more, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Hello. Mark Carroll, Commissioner of Sharptown. I'm here to talk about the open space land transfer conversion. The property that it's being converted from is the property on Levin DeShiel Road, as we all know. And I thought it was important that I come and speak about this because there was a meeting about what to do with that park. And after that meeting, the town of Sharptown didn't feel that our needs were being represented. So when there was a follow-up meeting at the Mardella Firehouse, we organized most of the group that came there. We reached out to everyone else in Mardella and Hebron, other soccer programs. So the bulk of the people were on our behalf. And that was because that proposed park is actually in the Tri-Town planning area, specified in the LPPRP, which means it's supposed to represent the interests of Sharptown, Mardella, and Hebron. We wanted to make sure that our interests were heard. And that's why we did that. We wanted to make sure that rectangular fields were represented because that's what we needed. At the time, we weren't aware that there was an option to just not do anything, to do a transfer, which is actually the best option. Our programmings are more local focused, town to town. Maybe at some point we will need something like that, but to build it right now isn't necessary. So I am here today speaking on behalf of the town of Sharptown, and we have already sent a letter of support for this as well. But I'm here specifically to ask that you reach a consensus today. This is a time-consuming process, and we'd like to ensure that Mr. Miller has ample time to do what he needs to do. As many of you know, this isn't the first time that this has been attempted, and if a second attempt is made, we would love to see it go through this time. So we understand that the land conversion doesn't mean that a park can never go on Levin DeShiel. What it does is it basically just moves the obligation to another facility. And anyone who knows the cost of the park on Levin DeShiel would be happy to see that put elsewhere because who knows what kind of timeline the state is looking at for that park to be developed for as long as it has been designated open space on Levin DeShiel. So, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Corey Houston, Wycombe County resident. I know everybody keeps talking about the fire, giving the city of Salisbury more money, but do you guys realize that they have two separate fees for city residents and county residents? You also get billed from that fire company for the ambulance call, what type of ambulance call, the care, the mileage is between here and there. I know from like our property is the city-county property line. I got a bill for over $16,000. Okay, our insurance company paid it. So what are they billing Wacomico County for if the insurance company pays it? I know another one that came from this building alone, 0.7 miles. Guess how much that was? Anybody? $1,200. And it was not critical care. They got paid from the insurance company. So what is the city charging Wacomico County for when the residents and their insurance companies are paying for these services? Nobody can answer it. I've asked Nick Rice. Nobody can answer what they're billing the county for when the residents are getting charged for. City residents have a fee, county residents have a fee, you have a mileage fee, you have an oxygen fee, we have the type of care credit or care that you get. That's not just the ambulance call. It's broke down in their FY27 fees. So think about that. They're already getting money from insurance companies.
Hi, my name is James Darlene from Wacomico County. I'm here to support to voice my support of the land conversion to Connolly Mill. So looking forward to the work session. Thanks.
Hello, Mary Hubner, Salisbury. I'm only going to just say that I'm here in support of the residents, specifically of Shadow Hills, who have worked tirelessly for this park. And I admire them so much because we need parks, as it's been said here, for a lot of reasons, mental health being a big one. So please, please support this conversion. Thank you.
Public comments. Seeing none, council comments. Josh?
Oh, I just want to say thank you for everybody for coming out today. Thank you for the folks who tuned in. A special thanks to the Shadow Hills folks, the Connolly Mill advocates. You all have done a really fantastic job in being thoughtful about why this is important and why it's needed. And I completely agree. I want to get to actually address Mr. Stofko's comments. Despite the fact, it's interesting, we've heard two different things from folks coming up here, is that they, moved here because of the assets that we have, the rural, the nature, and all that. And we've heard from, what folks can do as far as getting out on the water, being hunters, enjoying the land as we have it. But we also hear this other part, which is basically about, Wicomico County continues to have some of the worst rates when it comes to diabetes, to a lot of our health issues. And though everyone, of course, always says, well, if you want to fix those issues, then you got to change your diet, which of course is challenging for different reasons. But the second biggest, if not the biggest way to address that is through connected green space. And that means not just having one great park and then on its own island, and then another great park in its own little island, another great, you've got to connect all these spaces. And if I would really love to one day look at the state rankings from our counties and actually not see our area down in the very bottom, Wicomico County. We have a ton of green space, but none of them are connected. And there are ways that we can do that. We've had rail trail things proposed and other kind of assets. So for the folks who are Connolly Mill, have been great advocates there. I'd encourage you all to turn around that energy and effort and put it towards, as we go through updating our comprehensive plan. Let's make sure that we not just have really great spaces, but that you can go from one to the other by a bike, and that we can have more spaces from our urban core for people to get out and walk. We can't do anything particularly about the really poor, awful development that we had, North 13, where the mall was created. Remember when I remember watching that thing being built. All of that area, you see any sidewalks out there? No, you're going to get hit by a car, but you will always see people trying to walk. So connectivity is a really big issue for our county. I want to make sure that we continue to address that in our comp plan, and then when we update our land preservation, parks, and recreation plan. Thank you. For folks who have mentioned that. But anyway, so connectivity, that's what I'd love to see. I appreciate everyone for being out and for voicing your concern. Thank you.
Joe.
Being it's 90 some degrees outside, let's talk about snow. I just want to say a big thank you to our county roads department. I think they've worked really hard at getting all the trees up alongside the roads. I see Mr. Corey out in the audience there. It's been a large task. We had a neighborhood north of Parsonsburg that really had problems and kept calling me, and I kept saying, they're on their way. And finally one day the guy said, hey, they're here. So he was tickled to death. I know they were tasked tasked very heavily with trying to take care of the problem that we had with that snowstorm. Tomorrow, they're going to have a ribbon cutting at the Parsonsburg Library. It starts at 10 o'clock. If anybody wants to come out, it's been a long time coming, so it's going to be a nice event. I want to comment on a couple things that somebody said at the podium about us, the council, backing up the internal auditor and things that we should do, excuse me a minute, let me look this up and get it right here, that we should do to, how come when I look for something, I can't never find it? That's something. But anyway, we asked for information about the LMD. Now, this isn't new. This is something that, questions have come up about this for the past several months. So we had, I had Laura send a request over to our Director of Administration asking for all the information, correspondence and things, so we could get to the bottom of it, Well, what we got was a reply that there was just a lot of just conversations, and this information was going to be not timely coming to us. Now, I thought about that answer, and I thought if there was a CEO of a company that sent that request to his department head and said, look, I want this information about whatever project you've been working on, and they got that response back from that department head, that person would be at somebody's HR department looking for another job. But that's the kind of lip service we get. And it's not just this issue. It's been a lot of issues over the past few years. So it's, the lady tries to do a good job. What Mr. Atkins brought up at the podium, we've heard that so many times. So that's one of the issues we have. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Jeff? I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Again, daytime meeting. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us and share your opinions and concerns. You might have noticed it's an election year. Just drive down the road and the campaign signs are plentiful. We're getting a lot of contacts about the signs. Some of them apparently are in the wrong place, and we just refer them to the county roads department and state highway and let them take care of it. Please get out and vote in June in the primary. I know it's a primary, it's a mid-cycle, mid-year election. Get out and vote, please. Get informed. There's plenty of town halls. There's going to be some debates. Please go, get informed. Learn about the candidates, learn what they stand for. And when they tell you in a public setting how they're going to reinvent the wheel or move a mountain from one side of the county to the other, follow that up with how are you going to do that? Because it all sounds good. It all sounds good during the campaign season. Find out exactly how they're going to do what they tell you they're going to do. That's all I got. Thank you.
Again, sometimes I forget to thank people for coming to the meetings. I'm always glad to see people here and not just us. Let me take my glasses. I can't read with my glasses. I want to congratulate Shadow Hill for your continued fight for Conley Mill Park. I was on the city council when the property was donated, and that was many years ago. So now it's coming, hopefully, in fruition. And I agree with, compliment Steve Miller for his dedication to have these parks around the different neighborhoods to give people recreation and families to have a place to go, socialize, walk, all that kind of stuff. Also, I'm concerned about senior citizens, because I'm one. It's heat. It's going to be a bad summer. It's going to be very hot. And we need to check on our elderly neighbors or family members to see if they have a fan, see if they have food, because of the economic situation right now in this country, some people may be choosing between food and medicine. But we need to check on them, and also the pets that you see outdoors with no water. Turn those owners in, because it's going to be extremely hot this summer. And also during the winter months, we should also do the same thing, make sure our seniors have proper heating and food. I think that's all I basically have to say right now.
Under presidential comments, pleased to have everybody here. As usual, it's nice to see a crowd. In reference to the audits, the internal auditor, so you're aware, will be presenting an annual audit plan for fiscal year 27. That'll be in about the July time period, where she actually, puts together her list of what she wants to review in the next coming year. We'll certainly make sure that we do revisit the departments that have, demonstrated to a certain degree either a lack of compliance or questionable findings, because I think we need to keep on that it's 100% correct. And we have seen way too often where there's new employees or the process hasn't been trained properly, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess, yes, in a matter of a first year or two, that's could be considered acceptable, but it has gone on for quite a while. And I think it's more importantly that we do try to make sure that we keep a line on it going into this next year. This council will not be there, but I agree with what Councilman Ennis says, and that is the fact that I think we do need to, with the assistance of the internal auditor, come up with the legislation which would create a greater call to action on behalf of the council to enforce those issues or those violations that might occur. Because right now it's a report, it's brought to the table, and then we move on to the next item. So I think something more tangible, I think, is needed, without a doubt. In regards to the roads audit in particular, I was a bit taken aback by what I would consider an unusually inappropriate response on behalf of the executive branch. And we did respond to that. I personally responded to that diatribe of criticisms on the internal auditor. My point being is anytime you have an internal auditor that comes into your departments and wants to address issues and finds findings that they're concerned about, I don't think it's your prerogative to criticize that internal auditor and maybe suggest other ways that this individual should be doing their job. No, you should recognize the fact that the internal auditor is trying to assist you and to help you and to help your departments run more efficiently. And 110% cooperation is what should be required. So, as I said, we did respond to that. In addition, we also did make a point on this specific audit that the internal auditor include. This is a very unusual process. You don't usually get 3 pages from an executive branch critiquing an audit. So we also asked the internal auditor to please include her very unusual rebuttal to the executive's letter. And Mr. Atkins, that's why you had a 3-page series of comments and rebuttals, because we wanted to make sure that was on the record, not only so that the public would recognize what was happening, but also to defend what we felt was the integrity of the internal auditor in a very, sometimes working in a very challenging role when it comes to just trying to get good information. We will continue on once we move out of once we move to the work sessions. We're going to do the Project Open Space work session for Conley Mill, and then we're going to take, just so you're aware, then we're going to take a half-hour lunch before we come back to the rest of the work sessions. And I want everybody in this room to know that so that, you're not just sitting here anticipating anything different. So that being said, entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can, hang on a second, I have to read the formal one here. Hold on a second. Entertain a motion to adjourn from legislative session to go into an open work session followed by a closed work session pursuant to the local government article section 3-305B1 to discuss a personnel matter pertaining to the general service to supervise to protect the privacy of personnel discussions. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. First open work session is program Open Space